Welcome to the Rotary Club of Martinsburg podcast, where service meets community. I'm your host, Kevin Brackens, and I'm going to connect you with the people, stories, and projects that are making a difference here in West Virginia and beyond. At the Rotary Club of Martinsburg, we believe in service above self. Each week, we'll dive into conversations with local leaders, volunteers, and change makers who are driving positive change in our community. From community initiatives to global efforts, we're here to inform, inspire, and engage. So whether you're a long-term Rotarian or someone curious about how you can make a difference, this podcast is for you. Join us as we explore the power of service, leadership, and community in action. This conversation is made possible by Brackens Painting. Brackens Painting is the region's best residential and commercial painting company. When schedule and quality count on Brackens. We've got you covered. Dana, thank you for being on the podcast. You're one of the first people we're having interviewed as a member spotlight for the Rotary Club of Martinsburg YouTube channel. So thank you.
I appreciate you having me and asking.
Nice. So the format of how we're doing this is we'll start off with talking a little bit about your background and then talk about how you heard about Rotary and what it means to you to be a member and that sort of stuff. So why don't you just take us out? Tell us about your life personally, professionally, please.
Well, I'm now going on my 30th year at the hospital. When I started in 94, it was City Hospital. Previous to that, I had worked in D.C., commuted, and worked for the Department of Justice as a program director of a fitness center for the Department of Justice. And then when I had kids, I knew I wasn't going to commute anymore. So I got very lucky in that after I had my first child, a year in, when she was a year old, this job came open. So I got the position. I had actually interviewed it for a year earlier when I was pregnant with her. Didn't get it then. Good timing, because then I was able to stay home with her for a year and then get this job. And it started out as health promotion coordinator, which did community, employee wellness, and any business wellness programs. And then when the Wellness Center opened in 99, my job just kind of folded into the Wellness Center. And actually, I worked full-time for 2 years, and then I went part-time when I had my second child. So I actually have been working part-time for a very long time. And then when my youngest went off to college, I decided I should work full-time now. So I went back to working full-time.
That's a great career path. I actually studied sports and recreation administration in grad school at Temple University, and I had aspirations of going campus rec. That was really a path I was in because I was in college undergrad, and then in grad school I got to work at their facilities, building programs and stuff like that. But the education allowed me opportunities like the one you're kind of talking about, both in the city and out here. But it's really nice, fulfilling. You're putting together good times and healthy times for people for your whole career path. That's really nice.
Yeah. I actually got my undergrad is in psychology, and I thought I wanted to go into sports psychology.
Mine too. I'm a psychology undergrad too.
Not much work in that, unless you work in a university and did research, and I didn't see myself doing that. And then when I was in undergrad, I found out about worksite wellness was just coming about. So that's when I decided that's what I would go to grad school for. And at the time I went to grad school, there wasn't many as diverse majors as there are now. And so exercise science was what I did at WVU, and then from there worked at the Department of Energy in Morgantown for a couple years. And then when my husband got his job here in Martinsburg, I commuted to DC and did the same thing at the Department of Justice. So
that's really awesome. So how many kids do you have?
2.
2 kids?
Yep.
Nice. And do they still live in Martinsburg?
No, they are both actually in Baltimore now.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. So when did you hear about Rotary, or when were you inspired to join?
So it really came about because of my job as a health promotion coordinator for the hospital. The person that I work for, Todd Way, I think he was in Rotary, or he knew about Rotary, and Rotary, a lot of Rotaries do this where they have a community wellness screening as a fundraiser. So it's to provide that community wellness screening, the discounted blood work.
Well, hold on. Explain So explain to me what that actually is, because I've never participated in it. Is it for all ages or?
Adults, 16 and up is what we'll have this wellness screening for. And it was always really just a blood draw when I think they first were doing it, and they were using a different lab. And it's just a way to get your annual blood work done at a discounted rate.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not covered by insurance. Back then, especially now with the changes in healthcare, a lot more of those screenings are available to you through covered insurance services. But because it was using a different lab, Todd Way had said, we really should encourage them to use a local company instead of a different laboratory that was like kind of a national lab. So that's how I came to know about Rotary, is because we took on the community wellness screening. And when we first started, we did it at Martinsburg High School in the gym. And we actually did have a little bit more of a health fair because we had the space for it. And we were doing like 400 people.
In a day?
That day, that morning.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And now I think because insurance coverage has changed, we don't get as many people as we used to. But we probably have people doing it that have been doing it for years. And people who moved out of the area still come back and do it. So, but that started, I think, sometime in the 90s. I can't even remember how long we've been doing that. So
then the Rotary Club of Martinsburg was kind of ID'd as sort of a community organizer, is that, or a way to get the word out, or was it going to be like some sort of partnership with?
It was more of a partnership because it was Rotary used it as a fundraiser, and they would get $1,000 or $2,000 from the lab, and then the lab would provide the discounted blood work. People would pay the lab for their lab work.
I see.
So we basically took over that contract of providing those lab services, and then an agreement. When we used to do 400 or more people, Rotary would get about 2,000. Since COVID and since changes of Medicare, we had to change our agreement with Rotary, and so they get $1 per blood test that's run. So say if you got 4 tests, we get $4. Rotary would get $4 for those 4 tests that you did. So it's a little over $1,000 that we've been able to give Rotary from the 2 screenings that we've done so far under that new system.
Okay, so that's really cool. So professionally, that's what partnered you up with Rotary. I get that. Mm-hmm. So there really wasn't like a special inspiration or a special moment where you saw how you wanted to be involved. But since that time, you've been, how many years have you been a Rotarian?
Just a few, because I was very involved with my kids' sports and that kind of stuff. And so I was, the team mom and did a lot of things like that. So I didn't really have the time between working part-time and being involved, plus being there for them in the mornings, or didn't have the time at lunch or whatever to leave work because I was working part-time. So it didn't really work out until the kids went off to college and I started back being full-time. But I always was interested in Rotary ever since doing that with Rotary, and was just kind of waiting my time when I'd be available to be able to do that.
Working with Rotary since the 90s.
Yeah.
But only an active sort of full-time member for 6 years? Or how long do you think is a short amount of time to you? Because to me, I've only been in this club for about a year and a half.
Yeah, I think it's been probably at least 6 years. I don't even know, to tell you the truth. I'm terrible with timelines.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Now, I'd done other things, like the morning Rotary had asked us to come and we did a screening, like a blood pressure and just a blood glucose screening for morning Rotary. We did that. We actually, when Healthy Berkeley was kind of big, we actually were a recipient of one of the grants that we actually were kind of a pass-through because it went to Parks and Rec to build the trail that's out at P.O. Faulkner Park.
Nice.
So that was funding that came from Rotary direct to a project that was kind of important to Healthy Berkeley and to WVU Medicine. So.
That's so neat. I'm connecting the dots. I remember Healthy Berkeley from my time with Bros, and we were trying to organize runs and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's hard to move. It's hard to steer that ship. But is Healthy Berkeley still a thing?
It's the hospital still has. It came about because of the community health needs assessment that the hospital does, and setting up your priorities and the areas you're going to work in. So in that sense, the
initiative's still there.
Yeah. But because things have changed in the community a lot, we don't have that kind of cohesive group that we used to. But I see things like Main Street starting the ambassador program,
right,
and that's exactly what the kind of grassroots things that Healthy Berkeley did. So
that's right.
it's living on in other ways. Like the Turkey Trot was born out of Healthy Berkeley, but we now have passed that on to United Way. So that's now become a good fundraiser for the United Way. So we've created pathways for things.
It's almost
programs.
like legacy. I love that. That's really wonderful. And again, that career path that you're on and what you do professionally. I mean, you got to count your successes. You know, I mean, those are legacy pieces. Like I'm happy with how I've left Bros and Bras. Like that is it's a healthy group, and it's got its own leadership, and it goes its own direction. And like I think this weekend there's 15 of them going to Colorado.
Oh wow!
The fact they traveled together. They're going to go climb some crazy mountain. But good on them. And I love that it didn't rely on one person. And that it took its own initiative. So that's great. But speaking of successes, what would you say the Rotary Club of Martinsburg, what are they really successful at? What do you think the club does well?
I think that obviously the sense of community of the people coming together. I've really seen in the last couple of years, because we've kind of structured the grant program and that we've given out so much more in the last couple of years and made it more of a formal application process. And I think that's kind of ebbed and flowed over the years. They've always done the fundraising, they've always given out funds, but I really am pleased with what's been going on the last couple of years with the grant process.
And you're on the grants committee?
Yes.
What does that look like? What are some of the processes that happens at the grants committee?
I'm on it because I like to see what community organizations are doing. A lot of them I work with in various capacities and stuff. So, and I learn a lot from them and seeing what they do. So that's personally why I'm on it. I like to see what they're doing. I also like to know where the money's going and have a hand in that. So the people.
So let's break it down. Let's break it down for Brackens a little bit. So Rotary has a big event like a golf tournament, the pickleball, or the gala, or some sort of big fundraiser, and let's say they bring in $20,000. That then sits in a scenario, or a portion of that sits in a scenario where the grants committee is like, okay, we're giving out X amount of money from the money we've raised.
Yep.
And then it's the grants committee's position to submit to the board their recommendations for how much goes to which grant, because there might be 25 applications, but we're only accepting in this number range. It ends up being only 6, right? Exactly. And you guys kind of break down, not just like, and I guess I'm speaking out of turn here, people. I don't always know, right? Because it's a large organization, but I'm assuming based on the organization's reputation, what their goals are, what they say they're going to use the money for, stuff like that is the criteria?
Well, there is an application, and there is criteria in the application. So when we evaluate it, we'll look at, sustainability, we'll look at how are they evaluating it, how are they using it, that kind of stuff. So
nice.
The biggest key is probably sustainability. You want to give somebody some money that's not going to just be used for one little thing. Now, it could be used. I'm trying to think what some of them might have been. I'm also on the WISH grant committee, so I get some of them confused. Right. But it could be like, say, a trail at the park. So that trail's going to be there forever, and your name can be on it. That kind of thing.
That's good sustainability. Whereas
it could be like we're just going to give away art supplies to kids or food at the food bank or something. You'd like it to be something that's going to help them sustain over time. Like how is this going to grow? Or, is this going to be a permanent thing that will be there for a long time and easy to sustain? Or will it be something that's going to help them grow and continue?
That's awesome. Okay, I understand that now. So, can you think of anything that the club could stand to improve on? And that can be across the board. Like, well, we could always say, we could always make more money, or we could always have more bigger events. But is there anything that kind of strikes you initially where you're like, well, it's not diverse, which our club is quite diverse. But is there anything on top of your mind that you would think that we could do better at?
Yeah, I thought of that when you were asking me about. I think they do a good job, and I think it really comes down to what are willing people, who's willing to put in the work, that kind of thing. So finding the right people. I do like the fact that it's diverse. I wish it was more diverse. We can always improve on diversity. But.
Sure. I feel like we've had a pretty good ramp up of new members starting to pop up here and there, kind of being recruited by other new members who see what the club is doing. That's an interesting transition. So the next question is, what traits do you think make a good Rotarian?
I think somebody that's open-minded and willing to listen, because the groups that come in to do presentations, whether it's a new business, whether it's a social services organization, nonprofit, the kids that come and speak from the high schools, all of that is to be able to and I've seen it where they really get engaged with some presentations that I didn't think maybe people really cared too much about, but they'll ask questions, that kind of thing, and really take it in, because you can learn a lot about the community from those presentations. So that, I think, is one of the important things for the club, is that we're learning about organizations that may need our help, or just maybe, new and, want to get the word out, that kind of thing.
Open-mindedness, I love that, because you're right. Now, as the newly appointed public image chair, I'm learning about how much is actually happening behind the scenes. There's actually scheduled months for what the club is focusing on, and I never knew that before. I was just sitting there watching presentations, but like Mental Health Awareness Month was 4 presentations of mental health experts or programming or motivational speakers.
Now, I think that might have been new, because I think before it was like, who can we get to speak?
Oh, really?
And it may be this is Heart Month, so maybe we should have somebody for Heart Month at least once, but To me, it seems way more organized. But I mean, I've only seen the last 4 presidents for the most part as they come up and they phase in and out. But it seems to get more and more organized every darn year. It's really great. It's really great. So open-mindedness, I can see that, because when you're sitting there, and we're fortunate too that whoever's coordinating the speakers is actually getting pretty much professional level speakers. It almost seems like they come in and they're subject matter experts, and they stay on track for the most part. We've had some characters just come in and just get wild with their presentation, but it really is a great presentation at lunch. Let's talk about the committees. I know you're on committees, but have you served in any sort of other leadership roles? No leadership, just, I do the grant. What did I say? I did a grant, I do the gala, and then help out with the pickleball a little bit, and then the community wellness screening. And I have served, we've had a program committee, and I'm not sure how it's being run. So I think different presidents run things a little bit differently. So the program committee, sometimes that's the one who is getting the speakers. But before, we've done that as a committee. So, and I don't know that that's being done that way right now, but it has in the past. So I've been involved with trying to get speakers.
Well, see, you're really involved. You don't even realize the plan. Well, not really, but you actually are involved, and I'm really excited about these interviews, because I'm going to learn about as much of it as I can. I had no idea. So there's a program committee who's
well, I don't know if there is right now, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
When Pete Mulford, I think, was the president, or maybe the incoming president, he might have been the program chair. So then he ran it as a committee. So we would meet like every couple months or something, and let's all gather speakers. Now, the person, so I don't know who's doing it right now. Eric Stanger did it last year. And I think it is a lead into who becomes chair-elect and then president or whatever. But
it's so heavy though. Like what it takes behind the scenes to run such a large club.
Yeah.
It's with such great programming and production. Frankly, it really is something.
Yeah, it may have been Steve Truax too, maybe he was running it, but there was a committee for a year or two. Now, like Eric Singer's been very open to, because I like to get speakers from the hospital. I have physicians who want to speak, or if a topic comes up like mental health, we'll have somebody from our, somebody that provides those kind of services. So I stay close to that, because probably professionally too, because I want to get, and a lot of I'm on the health work group, which is part of the Health and Human Services Collaborative. So then I have that link, trying to get, those people in to speak, that kind of thing. So. Well,
yeah, you don't even realize that you're a real champion of this. I mean, you're contributing a lot. Don't downplay it. So almost as we're wrapping up here, the next part is, if you thought somebody would make a good Rotarian, what is your approach? How would you encourage them to join the club?
I basically am probably, just ask me what it's like, and I can tell you, and I'm usually pretty upfront and honest about it, what the meetings are like, what the people are like, and I think because there are a couple different Rotaries, especially just in Berkeley County, you can maybe fit to your personality or to your schedule which one would be best for you.
Right.
So there's something for everybody is what you can say. But I think if you want to be a part of a group that's doing good things in the community, that's what Rotary is.
I describe it as a powerful, organized clearinghouse for giving back to the community. Yes, me and my friends could go do a bake sale and raise money for X and donate it, and that's wonderful. Or we could put together a 5K and raise X, attempt to raise money with some sort of thing that we're good at and donate it. But when you join an organized group that really gives back to the community, it's trackable, it's accountable. That's where I feel like as an individual and part of that collective, we actually make a bigger dent. So I think that would be my sort of, that's how I tell people. Yeah.
Well, there is I think the power of the group, to do more than you could do individually. There's a lot of opportunities, as little or as much as you want to do, and nobody forces you to do anything, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
You're not really pressured ever. Yeah. And I tell people, sometimes I cut a check. I ain't got the time. Tracy really strong-armed me into this chair position because she had to get it filled, and I pushed back for quite a while because I didn't feel like what her vision of it would be what I could help with. But I found this channel as my path to give back, and this is a real step in a direction to bring the club to another level of tech. And it also allows people to sit and listen and learn from their members. And ideally someone's like, I saw your interview, that was so good, I didn't know you were this, maybe we can collaborate outside of Rotary even. And that's what I'm really going for this. But you're never forced into a position unless you're dating the president. And then
that luckily won't happen to too many people.
I know, right? And then sometimes members can just write a check and donate or sponsor events or
you can be the one there flipping pancakes.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You can volunteer, and you can lend. Like I know when I was a member of the Rotary in Charlestown, they had some Day of Caring stuff that required paint materials. Like, man, no problem. Brackets painting, just whatever you need. I even threw painters at it to help get the things done. So there's always ways to give, and when you find your avenue, you can follow it. And I can tell you've definitely found your avenue. Is there anything else you'd want to share with anybody who might be considering joining this club as to why they should?
I think just come check it out and, have lunch and see what it's about.
Right, and we meet at the Martinsburg Holiday Inn on Thursdays at about 11:45. It's a good time to arrive, and it's a very good, welcoming group for sure. As for the initiatives that you have a lot of passion for, this is the time for a call to action. If you want people to come out and volunteer, if you want people to volunteer for committees, or why it's important to help your initiatives, what would you say now?
I think the Rotary is a good, reliable organization, so there are certain things that may not be Rotary driven or the lead on, but they can be counted on in certain places. So I think that it's just an avenue to volunteer and be involved.
Well, what I'm actually trying to get at is I need you to tell people why it's important to come to the health screening, or why it's important to come to the pickleball tournament. What would why is it important, and what are the things that you want to drive attention to in this moment?
It's important because we're providing something for the community, and there's an end game to it. The community wellness screening, come and get your screening done, because that's important to get your blood work done and keep track of your health. To volunteers to help us be able to put it on.
Do Rotary members volunteer at the health screening?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have them as our greeters, registration, that kind of stuff. So our staff does,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, our staff does the blood draw, but the rest of it is, Rotary staff. And because it's a Rotary event, it's nice to see Rotary at the event.
Yeah.
So that it has, puts a face to where, this is why this is happening, kind of thing.
Nice. So I'll help you because you mentioned in the beginning of this you're not good at selling on ideas.
Yeah.
But so here's the call to action, people. It would be great if you could volunteer at the next health screening. It happens once a year, and it sounds like it's not a really heavy lift. Maybe you sign up for a certain time.
You just
block.
have to be there at 5:30 in the morning.
You can get there.
There are a good 6 or 8 who will always be there. So
Of course, I know. I
somebody
can
who will
rattle
get
their
up
names
early.
off. I know.
Yeah.
It's so reliable. Another initiative or a call to action would be sign up and try the pickleball tournament. I know I did that without knowing how to play, and it was a real blast. It was enlightening, but it was a real blast. But you can also volunteer for those. You're on the gala committee with me. I'm not really sure if we need a bunch of volunteers, but there's ways to donate items for the silent auction.
Yes, we definitely need donations.
There's things to be donated for the live auction. There's it's a heck of a good time at this time.
Not many tickets left, so
there's like 20 or 30 tickets left, and that's a Dueling Pianos event. That really is a top notch. It really should be classified as one of the most premier events in Martinsburg over the course of the year, because it's sort of a black tie formal scenario, and the meal was delicious, and it's a really good event. So those are the call to actions I'm looking for. And then I would say, if you were talking to the members, look for what committees need help. Maybe you don't realize how you could help that committee, and you could actually make a difference whether you know it or not. How's that for a call to action?
You're great. You're a much better salesman than I am.
Dana, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.